You- Okay, we are live here, Robert. How are you today?
Wonderful. How about yourself?
Good, good, thank you. Finally, the weather it was horrible and dreary this morning. I don't know about you, but I was in Guilford at 7 this morning and it was
Oh,
horrible. So
I'm Guilford not here now in my office.
I know, well, this is where blue sky's out. So I'm happy about that. Robert is a mortgage officer and he works for Harbour Mortgage. And why don't you tell us, Robert, where you're located, your office
534 Boston Post Road in Guilford.
in
We're
Guilford?
right off of Goose Lane, which is exit 59. And right next to us is Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, so then everybody would know where your office is.
Yes. We share the parking lot actually, which is
Yeah.
pretty
Oh,
cool.
that's pretty good. Well, I don't know if that's good for everybody working at Harvard Mortgage. But listen, why I wanted to have Robert on is there are a lot of mortgage companies. There's banks and on and on and on. And the thing is why I like working with Robert is that he has so many different programs that he can offer. And I don't really want to talk mortgage rates because that's something that it would best that they make an appointment and talk to you. Mortgage rates that they fluctuate regarding the person. Is that correct? Regarding how their credit score may be? Is that?
It's based on down payment generally and credit score.
All that stuff. Right. Okay. So what I'd like to do is just to really maybe let's talk about one of the misconceptions regarding mortgages. So if I'm working with a buyer and I have somebody who wants to purchase, they might not be able to purchase, Robert, because they have 20, they have to have 20% in the bank before they purchase. Is that true that they have to have this 20%?
No, that's not true at all. Actually,
Right.
we have mortgage programs that you can come in with as little as 3% down. They're
3%.
called Home Ready and Home Possible loans.
Home Ready and Home
And Home
Possible
Possible. If you want to think the really excellent loans for someone who, let's say, wanted to buy a condominium, has a decent job, decent credit, but they just lack the savings.
Right.
For example, if you're looking at a $300,000 condo, you only need $3,000, which
Right.
is simply amazing. I remember when my mother and father bought their home in the 1960s. Okay, they had to come in with 20% down, and that's no longer the case at all.
Right.
And that's the biggest misnomer with most borrowers. They don't realize that. They think they have to have a lot of money in the bank to buy a home, and that's no longer the case.
That's really, I wanted to bring that up because I just find, no matter if I'm working an open house or whatever I'm doing, people always think that they can't buy yet, they have to save the money. But really, until they meet with you, you don't really know how much money they will really need to save, because don't you even do stuff with 1% sometimes?
Yeah, we even have a 1% conventional program.
1% conventional. I'm repeating that.
That
It's
particular
crazy.
program has income limits, but it's a fabulous program. Absolutely.
So, okay, 1%. Now, this is where everybody in their brain is thinking it's 20%. So you said it's a conventional loan.
That is
So would
correct.
it be roughly the same? Do you have to produce all the same paperwork of your credit score and your job?
Yeah.
Your
Basically, the most important thing to do if you want to purchase a home is to be pre-approved. Okay, and there's like three pieces to that. Generally, people say, well, there's things come in threes.
Yep.
It's the same thing with the mortgage business. We need to review your credit. That's most important. Your income and your savings. Now, in my case, I really don't ask for a bank statement up front. I just say, how much do you have available for this purchase? And we'll put you in whatever program might work the best for you.
Right. Right. So, and that's what I do when I'm working with buyers. In fact, I don't even work with them until I know where they stand financially. And that's where Robert has been fantastic of getting someone qualified, going through all their numbers, making sure that when we do, then we can then start looking at properties, and then we're in a certain price range and we know we're not shopping above our taste. So if it's in that 300 range, then that's what the range is. If we're in a multiple offer situation, we also know that they could go 350, but also maybe 300 was their cap. So, and again, we can use numbers of 600,000 or 900,000, and I know you do all ends. So with that, now producing information to get qualified, there's a lot of self-employed people out there. In fact, the Grinnell family is one of them. So how do you have a program with Harbour Mortgage that would allow somebody to get qualified?
Well, we have many non-traditional programs that your local bank can't do. And just to tell you a little bit about my background, I used to work in the banking with two particular banks, but there wasn't enough product available to help sometimes out of the box situations. So I went on to get my mortgage license. I now work here at Harbour Mortgage in Guilford, and we have at least 21 lenders. And there's several non-traditional loan programs, for example, that could help the self-employed folks buy their first home or second home, whatever the case may be. For example, if you run into a case where a husband and wife, they want to buy a house, it's about a $500,000 home. They say, we would love to buy this home, but we're just not showing enough income on our tax return, because after the deductions, the number is much less than what we gross.
And that's why so many times people are self-employed, because being self-employed,
yes,
you try to do all this to write off, but
yes.
at the same time, it's like, now what do I do? Because it's not working in your favor if you're then trying to go purchase something.
Well, if you're self-employed, let's say, the income they're going to use is line 31 on your Schedule C, and sometimes that number is not going to be aggressive enough to go do what you have to do. Now, what's important with this program is you need to have good credit and the ability to put 20% down. If you could put 20% down, the world's your oyster, because we could look at your bank statements, make a determinant of your deposits in bank statements. Sometimes we could use up to 90% of the cash flow in your bank statement to help you qualify. We could look at your P&L statement. We could also look at your 1099. But the key is 20% down.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And that'll make the loan work. And the rates are reasonable. They probably can't get you there in the sixes right now, even though conventional rates are in the midstream sixes, but they would be in the mid sevens. But it does the job. And then when your income improves and you're showing more income, we could always just roll you over and give you a refinance to another regular conventional traditional mortgage.
Right. So I'm going to bring up something else, because in real estate, our mortgage rates were crazy, right? They were 2.5%, 3%, 4%, 5%. Those numbers are not anything. It was kind of, as I'm understanding, more, because of the pandemic, that they were more in those particular numbers. And we're more looking like we are from 2017, 18, and 19 for kind of a real truer market. So with that, whatever our rate is today, we're not ever going back, maybe at this time, to those numbers. And what I find is, this weekend I met she used to be a real estate agent, and she was giving her advice to her child. And she was telling her daughter that it would be best not to purchase a house right now, because she should wait for the prices of homes to come down and the interest rate to come down. Do you have any thought on that?
Well, quite sincerely, none of us have a crystal ball.
Oh.
I do project
Come
rates.
on, Robert.
I know, but I do project rates to come down. Right now, they're in the mid sixes. We do project them to come down this summer to the high fives. But what people lose sight of, if you were to historically look at mortgage rates over the last 30 or 40 years, they've been 7.7%.
Right.
So right now, this is historic. This is historic, normal rate right now.
Right.
And I remember when people were panicking back in 2009. I wasn't in the mortgage industry at that time. However, Bear Stearns was collapsing, Lehman Brothers, and everyone was panicking in the rates and sell all the stocks. I used to shout as loud as I could. Stay, relax, don't sell, don't panic, don't sell your stock. And within 2 years, the market completely came back.
Right.
So don't listen to the noise around you. The rates are good.
Right.
They're in the mid sixes, perfectly fine. It's just a matter of you getting out there and wanting to buy a home and doing the
So
steps that
that
are necessary with your realtor.
so you answered that correctly, and it's kind of the advice that I gave that daughter, let alone her mom. And
Yeah.
I told the mom that really she's giving the wrong advice, that it's a great time to purchase because what you just mentioned, if you got in at a 7 and you didn't like that number, you can refinance
Always come
because
back
the
and
rates
refinance.
will come down.
Yeah.
So and if you wait for it to come in, sixes, the low 6 to, high 5s, what's going to happen at that time? What's going to happen with all our buyers? Then we're going to have this influx of buyers, and
Mhm.
what's it going to keep doing? Driving the prices up. So it's sometimes people think it's best to give their children advice. It's kind of like that horrible thing about the 20% down. You don't need 20%.
Right, right, right.
I've done so many recently, and because you've done half of them. But the 3% down. I mean, this is where there's so many programs. And the thing why I like working with Harbour Mortgage and Robert is that you have his number right there, the 203-812-0069. Yeah, there he is. But that's where,
Yeah.
getting hold of Robert, you can't move forward until you really know where you stand. And just going online, that's the other thing. We could talk about that for a minute. There's so many like online mortgage programs, and you could go online and figure out, put all your information in. Any words of wisdom on that?
Well, we do everything online, but it's very simple. I send you a how to apply email.
Right. Well, just real
Okay.
quick. Yeah,
And you could walk right through it. It won't take you more than 5 or 10 minutes to complete that. And the reason why we do that, we want you okay to run your credit before we do so. So,
correct.
and the
But
days
what
of
I'm
old, I
really,
used to
but what
have
I'm
to go with the paperwork, but we don't have to do that anymore. It's very simple.
But what I'm really getting at is there's online companies that sell mortgages. And some people feel it's kind of like insurance. They feel that they could go online and they're going to get this great deal. What people don't understand is you're the one entering that information, telling the computer your data. Robert and his company has a whole different way of looking at that data, because you're truly looking at it compared to it just kind of,
Yeah.
I'm going to use Rocket Mortgage. I mean, going through Rocket Mortgage, it just drives me crazy, because people are just entering this information and, they
Well,
just,
the dirty little secret when you hear the commercial sometimes, you could be pumping gas and hear a commercial, one mortgage company or the other. They're not telling you they're charging you points, be it 1 point or
right,
2 point. And if you don't know what points are, it's 1% of the loan amount. So let's say your loan amount is $300,000. 2 points is $6,000. Rate
right,
sounds good, you know, but you got to pay for that. You have to pay. You have to pay to lower. You have to pay to lower that rate, and it could be substantial. Now, the difference with Harbor Mortgage is the rate I give you is a raw rate. It's a rate that without points, as is the lender is not crediting you anything, and you're not paying anything for that rate. And because we're wholesale, it's much better than a retail rate that you hear all the time. Can I just give you a real quick example? I had a
yes,
walk-in
please.
the other day that woman wanted to buy a home, and I gave her my rate, and then she called, did an online, some 800 number.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
rate was not true, and if
yeah,
it
no,
was, she's paying 3 or 4 points for that. Okay. You could come to my office. We could review the 21 lenders I offer. No one generally is ever, some people times someone can match my rate, but you're not going to beat the rates here because we have the ability to shop with the best. We want to have one of the best lenders and most aggressive lenders in the country. If your credit qualifies, we could send it there.
right.
If your loan is a little bit more problematic, we could do FHA, or we could go with a non-traditional mortgage. So we have plenty of options here to offer.
Right. Um, it's really important that I think in anything that you really are talking to a professional. And that's really why I have Robert on here today. Another type of loan is construction. So not construction, that's the wrong word. You redo a home. So you buy a
Well,
house.
we handle, we're one of the few mortgage companies that still handle renovation loans.
Okay.
There's a FHA 203K, and there's also what they call Fannie Mae home style, which is
Right.
a conventional more. Depending on your rate, depending on your FICO score, you might be better off with a Fannie Mae home style because the rates tend to be better.
Right. Right. So that's
But they're great loans. I mean, here's a real example. You go look at a house, you love where the home is. It's not far from the school, the shopping center, whatever you like. But boy, that kitchen and bathroom are shot. But you really
pretty
like
bad.
the house. We could do the renovation loan and handle the whole thing. So, for example, if the house is 300,000 and it's $50,000 of renovation, we put the 300,000 on top of 50,000, and then that your loan amount would be 350. You don't
Right.
really have to get involved in much of anything because the lenders handles the disbursements to
Right.
whoever's going to be doing the renovation. The only thing I would say to you is that you can't hire your Uncle Charlie for this. You want a good firm that has experience, that is bonded, and has done this before, because they got to be able to come up front with if the first step here, if they got to put $20,000 into material, they have to be able to do that. And then you may get a HUD consultant to come in and say, well, that job has been done. Let's disperse money to them as they get the project going. It could be 3 disbursements. It could be 1 disbursement, but it's generally 3 to 5 disbursements until the job is done. But it's great because you now have a brand new kitchen, you have a brand new a bathroom, a brand new roof, and the house you want, the pristine area you want it is now yours, all fixed up.
Right. And you bought it for $350, and the way life goes, you're building that equity pretty quick, and it's probably worth $425. So
yeah. Quickly, yeah. The best way to wealth is through real estate. I mean, it is. You have to live
100%.
someplace.
Yep. That's right.
See what the rents are today. My God, 2,400
Yep.
for a 2-bedroom.
Yep. No, it's crazy. That's crazy. So anything else maybe you would like to include and let people know about Harbour Mortgage?
Well,
I mean, you've
my
touched
manager,
on a
Dustin
lot.
Rianciato, has been in the business for over 25 years. We have plenty of folks with experience here. Again, many lenders to choose from, and some really great, unique products. And then if I just may expand on one that your viewers may find very interesting, there's what they call a DSCR loan. DSCR loan, sometimes called cash flow investor. If someone wants to get into the real estate game, let's say they don't show, they might be self-employed, not showing much income, or they may have already some properties with losses, as long as they have decent credit, okay, and they have 20% to put down, as long as the cash flow, in other words, the rent roll, meets the monthly mortgage payment, they could buy that property.
Right.
It's really simple. The key is 20% down. I have one particular client that him and his wife make a very modest living. Every single year, they buy an investment condominium.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
And they're going to be they're looking to, starting July 1st, they want me to call them because they're looking for their third. They have the 20% to put down. The cash flow, the rent roll meets the monthly mortgage payment. They just bought a third investment property. And every month that goes by, every year that goes by, they owe the bank less and less and less.
Right. And the equity is building, and it's, you can't go wrong. It's such a great way so we've hit on so much. We've talked about new buyers. We've talked about self-employed. We talked about renovation loans. And the main thing that Robert really brings to the table is just all the different lenders, or I don't know what you call them, because I try to stay in my lane. I don't really care. I hand them off to Robert, but I mean, because I sell them the house, I need to just make sure they're qualified. But he just has so many different products that he can offer people, which is really, for a realtor, that's what we're looking for. And I don't want to pick on any bank by any means, but
No.
if you think of a particular bank and you walk in the door, I always say, like, there's only 5 programs they offer, and maybe it's 8, but I just say there's 5. And this one person would have to fit into one of these pegs. And this is where, when you walk into a place like Harbour Mortgage, you know, I think you said 21 programs. And so you have all these other situations that you can fit into, no matter if you are self-employed or you're first-time home buyer. And VA, I mean, I'm sure you do veterans also.
We do VA, we do USDA, we do traditional conventional loans, Fannie and Freddie, we do FHA. One thing just came to my mind. I had a client, I don't know if you're familiar with USDA loans, but with USDA doesn't mean farm country. Okay. You could actually, there's many parts of Connecticut, for example, North Branford, I would say about 60% of the state would qualify under the USDA program. And what that is, the government will provide you with 100% financing. You don't need any money down. I had a husband and wife expecting a baby that walked into my office. They each had decent income and decent credit. Okay. Doesn't have to be outstanding, but good enough. They had $3,500 in the bank. I got them in a home in 45 days.
That's just great. It's great.
And basically the USDA paid for the whole thing.
Yeah. So here's a question on that. So for that, just to educate me more on that. So is it farm? Is it land, raw land, or is it?
Well, USDA stands for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So people think it's farm country.
Yeah.
But it's more like suburbia. For example, you may not believe it, but Woodbridge would qualify.
Yeah, Woodbridge, right.
North Branford.
Yeah, North Branford.
Not North Haven, North Branford, Northford.
Yeah,
Northford.
Guilford. I know that. My kids all played ice hockey. That's my favorite route, heading there, all the farms.
Clinton is a big USDA area.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, everybody listen to that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you'd be surprised how many.
Right. Well, I think that's where in anything we're doing, no matter if you're trying to get insurance for your boat, your car, a house, or your business, no matter whatever, you just need to be talking to the right person. And that's where, hopefully that's what people are gaining here, speaking to you, Robert, that you are a professional. And that's where, you do know your stuff. And that's what I do like about you, and that you're able to spit it all out. And you can, you meet somebody, you look at their stuff, and they're like, oh, we're going this way. Or it's like, okay, we're going to go that way. So I think that's
100% true.
Which is great.
I really like what I do. I used to work for the phone company years ago, and it was pretty boring, and I made the transition to this sometime afterwards, and I never looked back. I never looked back. I enjoy every day.
Yeah, well, that's how I roll here in this real estate, because I think it's fun as can be. Every day is different. Everybody's different. But that's where I keep my energy going, because everybody's a tad different.
Right.
I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Do you have any other questions? Any more statements? Anything else you want to tell me about programs? Because there's so much with mortgage. We could meet every week.
Going on, but I think we covered a lot of it today, and I appreciate your time with me today.
Yeah, no, I just think, so again, your address is in Guilford, but I don't know the exact address for Harbour.
It's 534 Boston Post Road, Guilford, right off of Goose Lane.
Oh yeah, right next to McDonald's.
And right next to Dunkin' Donuts. Come over and buy you a coffee.
There you go. See? So that's it. Yeah, you know exactly where to go.
But I really enjoy working with people. I work with all different kind of folks. One thing just popped into my mind as well. I could do an ITIN client. You know what ITIN is?
No.
For folks who have not maybe established a green card or been in the United States long enough,
Oh.
may not have a social security number. But as long as they have an ITIN number, the reporting their earnings through an
Yes.
ITIN number, it begins with the letter, with the number 9.
Wonderful.
They
That's
could
great
purchase
to
a
know.
home.
Yep.
They
Wow.
could purchase. They don't realize it, but they could purchase a home. They just need
Yeah.
to talk to me, and I'll tell them what they need to do.
Okay, that's awesome. So, okay, before we wrap it up, I have some fun, rapid kind of questions I ask you, which I never tell my people. I don't tell anybody too much anyways, as you
Okay.
know, Robert, right? But what I'd love to do is ask you some questions, very simple, like true, false, or yes, no, or whatever. So my first question, do you prefer texting or talking?
Talking.
There we go. I'm all over that too, as you can tell. What is your favorite day of the week?
Friday.
Why do you like Friday?
I just like Fridays. Fridays are nice. Kind
That's
of a
good.
nice wrap up for the week. I like Friday.
Yeah. So, okay. Now
I don't
here we
really
go.
have, I enjoy every day. So
We know that. You can tell that's coming out in the screen anyways. Okay, here we go. On a scale to 1 to 10,
okay.
how good of a driver are you?
I would say 8.
Yeah, I'm like a 12. I'm a 12
Oh.
plus. In my own mind.
Okay. No, I'm better than average, I would say.
Yeah, that's good.
But when I see someone going by me 100 miles an hour, they may be a little better driver than me.
I don't drive that fast. Do you prefer cake or pie?
Cake. Lemon meringue's my favorite.
Oh, I love lemon meringue.
Yeah,
That's our. I make a mean lemon meringue pie. Anyways, we could do a cooking show here too. Okay, fill in the blank. Taylor Swift is blank.
Crazy.
It's perfect. Some people don't have anything to say. A lot of people have a lot to say. So crazy.
But I would say also she's very talented. She's talented. She's very
talented
Yeah.
and
That's 2 words,
smart
but talented,
businesswoman for
yeah.
sure. And crazy on there. But I mean, I put myself into the crazy category too. So I think that's a positive thing. Okay, if you had to pick a movie, Godfather or Star Wars?
Godfather. No hesitation.
There you go. I guess. Did you ever go to a sleepaway camp?
No.
Now give me a word in Spanish.
Sí.
Check, done. This is your last one.
¿Qué hora es? ¿Qué hora?
I don't know that one.
What time?
Okay, here's your last one. Say good day, mate, in an Australian accent.
I can't do that.
Yeah, you can.
An Australian accent.
Australian.
I think I'll yield on that one.
Come on, last chance. It's a good one. Easy.
Hey, mate.
There you go. Yay!
I really enjoyed Crocodile Dundee. Those were great movies back in the day.
Yeah, well, there were. Oh, well, right. And now most of I don't watch too many movies, but the ones that I do watch tend to be really. I like Bellucci and some of the crazy people, Chevy Chase. I mean, I can watch the same thing over and over. The cop one. I mean, there's just a bunch. I like funny. So. But all right. Well, anything else you want to add before we kind of let people continue on in their day?
The Kentucky Derby is this Saturday.
Yes.
So be sure you have it's a lot of fun. It's on NBC. Sit down, have a little party, and enjoy. That's right. It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. Yeah, I have to look at the horses and decide I will do that because I always love doing that.
Well, it's a big event, and I usually go to a party, so I'm looking forward to Saturday very much.
That's fun. That's fun. Well, I thank you so much for your time.
Welcome.
And again, it's Robert, and make sure I got your last name right. Ogonowski.
Ogonowski. That's correct.
Oh, that was kind of close. Okay.
Yeah, very good.
But let me tell you, they know exactly who he is at Harbour Mortgage in Guilford. So if anything I can help you with or Robert can help you with, all our contact information is here. Please reach out, and everybody have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yep.
Bye-bye.